So I'm Hamish of the Watch Collectors Club, and we're delighted to be here with Mr. Jones and Crispin.
Hello, welcome to the store. For us, this store is quite new. We only opened in November last year. Before this, we had a tiny little shop in Oxo Tower. And this is the first event that we've done here, and this is the busiest I've seen the shop. This is the most number of people crammed in at one time. So welcome, it's really nice. It's been really nice having the conversations I've had with people, because I guess as a brand, we take our watchmaking very seriously, but we generally sell to people who don't know much about watches, and actually it's really nice to speak to people who are interested in the difference between a 38 and a 40mm case, or who are really into those details that the watchmaking kind of throws up.
So since Crispin's here, we're going to do a small interview. So the obvious question to start with is, how did you get into designing watches?
I wish I could give you the traditional story. My grandfather was a watchmaker and I grew up at his and I took an alarm clock apart. I didn't know any of that. I had zero interest in watches as a kid. My background is in fine art, so I have an undergraduate degree in sculpture and then a master's in interaction design. Interaction design is really sort of creative uses of technology, and when I was studying it end of the 90s, it was really mobile phones was what everyone was focused on. That was the growth area for interaction design. But I was always sort of interested in a sort of history of technology, and particularly technology that persists. So the wristwatch is really unusual in the ecosystem of technology because it's a survivor. If we extend that to include the history of the pocket watch, it's got a 400-year history, versus most digital technology that's 5 years old looks weird and clunky, and if it's from 30 years ago, it looks how did people live with such primitive nonsense? So that was kind of my way into it as a weird circuitous thing. So I was interested in why the watch persisted as an object, and it persists because it communicates a lot of stuff about aspiration, values, affluence, taste, all these kind of things, and particularly for men who don't have many opportunities to wear jewellery, it's this quite loaded sort of object. I'm looking around the room, almost no one is wearing any body adornment, apart from the women, apart from a watch. And so I was really interested in that as this sort of loaded symbol. With hindsight, I was so naive about the watch world. I knew nothing about watches or the watch community or any of that stuff. So I just started emailing factories that I found through Google saying, I'm a designer in London, I want to make a small batch of watches. What's the minimum order? What's the, how does it work? What can you do? But I knew from the start that I wanted to print on transparent discs. I'd seen that on children's watches, and I thought I can do the Remember You'll Die printed as words rather than metal hand. So that was literally the only kind of constraint I had. Also, I wanted to design my own case because I felt it was quite important that it didn't look super generic, because I thought it needs to look a bit different and kind of have a bit personality. So sending the emails out, I think I emailed half a dozen factories to start with. Maybe 3 of them got back to me with some prices and suggestions and stuff, and then I had some further questions, and pretty quickly there was only one factory mailing me back, and their setup was minimum order is 500 pieces. You can make as many variations within that as you want. 500 is the minimum number of cases you need to order. So if you want to do 500 different designs, it's fine. You need to pay the setup charge for each individual design. In June or July, I released the whole collection and kind of went live with it. And what happened quite quickly, or within I think 2 months, the Remember You'll Die watch, which was one of the 5, sold out the 100 piece. I thought, great, now people order some of the other 4 that I had quite a lot left of. But then they kept emailing saying, when you make more Remember You'll Die watches? And for me, before then, it had just been, that's 100 pieces, it's a thing, it's an object, I make it, I'll make this set of watches, and then next year I'll do something else. But I thought, that was a limited edition, I could reissue it and put it into the permanent collection. It's kind of a joke, there's 5 designs, but I'm reissuing them. But as a sort of mental thing for explaining to the customers, it kind of made sense. So in that collection of 5, 3 of them ended up getting reissued and became the permanent collection. The other 2, when the limited edition sold out, they just went. the next year I did the same thing because I thought, this is quite a good model. So I did 5 new designs. Of that second year collection, 2 went into the permanent collection, and kind of year on year, that became like a model. And it's still the model we use now. Like any new design is released as a numbered edition to start with. If it's popular, then, and popular is like, I was saying to someone, is a kind of sliding, shifting sands, like moving goalposts. Like, if it's popular enough, then we'll reissue it and it becomes part of the permanent collection. We always try to make a change between the design from limited edition to permanent, because I would never want someone to feel like it was a bit disingenuous. You did a limited edition, but then you release exactly the same watch. So there is always, sometimes they're quite subtle, the differences, but I feel it's important that there is a distinction between the two. And so that is the model we use now. So it allows us to be really experimental, because any design, we're thinking, we've got to sell 100 of them. Like, it would have to be an awful design to not sell. Like, we'd never release a design that couldn't sell 100, I think. So that's why I'm saying, if it's popular enough, it's a sort of shifting thing. So, for example, the last release we did, which was last week on Wednesday, was a 100-piece edition, sold in 15 minutes.
Oh,
so it's
congratulations.
like, yeah, I mean, but that first year, 2007, I think it was like 2.5 months. And I thought that was amazing. I was like, 2.5 months was so quick.
So you're quite unusual because many of your watches don't have traditional hands.
Mm-hmm.
So could you talk a little bit about that and why that's been such a strong theme for you?
Sure. So originally, like, I wanted to do the printing on transparent discs to put text on them. Like, that was kind of my design. Gradually over time, like, I didn't quite get bored, but I started to dry up on designing watches, and it became a bit of a chore. Like, every year, 5 more designs, and like, they just weren't as good. Like, the success to failure rate got like out of proportion. So I asked friends of mine to design watches for us, and this was at the time when we'd started to do some of the production in the UK, and it was kind of an important moment for, like, if I was designing something for our very infant production capacity and capabilities, I would design something that I knew we could make, whereas someone coming in from outside would design what they wanted to design. And it was a really important thing that pushed us to learn new techniques or like solve problems, because it was someone coming in from outside with like different things. So one of the illustrators we worked with designed a watch called Van Meel, which is here. You may have seen it. It's like the giant squid with 2 men in the arms, and one man is the minutes, one man is the hours. And what's nice is the squid like doesn't mind if it's upside down or the right way up, so it works in kind of all aspects. But that was really the first design that we did that was like an image with the time-telling function, like an aspect of the image. With hindsight, like, that was a kind of important shift for us. So before, it was text, it was remember you will die, or things like that, like quite simple, like not many colour designs, not very pictorial. The Van Meel watch was the one that kind of changed it for us. Also the last laugh, where there's the skull's face and the time function is on the teeth. But printing on transparent discs just gives us so much more creative possibility. So we can make, like on the, like the duck doesn't have to have like a long bit of metal that joins up to the centre. So it's just allows us to be much more playful, and make these kind of pictorial designs where the time telling, like the first time you see it, it's kind of puzzling. You're like, is it a watch? Like, what is it? You're wearing some funny little...
And they become iconic. So in discussing this event with both our members and others, they say Mr. Jones watches, and they're not familiar with the brand when you say it like that. But when I say, Google it and look at the first watch that comes up, which is this one, because it's so popular, they go, yeah, I've seen that. So you're creating icons through the design, which is,
I guess, like, there was quite conscious decision
that become successful.
That, like, I never wanted to. I feel there's quite crude branding that happens on watches. Like, you always have name across the middle, like, and it's quite texty, and it's
some
a bit
more
like
than others.
Yeah. I mean, I was always conscious that, like, we keep it clean. Like, we don't feel the need to be like, Mr. Jones watches. Like, I did early on though. Like, this was kind of evolution. Like, I have one of the pre-production samples of that first series, and I felt it was really important to have Mr. Jones watches clear on the face, and it's like branded in 6 places. It's like on the side, on the back of the case, on the strap. Like, it lets us be a bit more playful, but also I'm kind of conscious that we stepped back from the sort of branding part and let the design speak.
Yeah, no, and I think you've been very successful. Which brings me on to, how do you choose the designers you've worked with?
So it's interesting, like the first ones were people I knew, or like, yeah, actually friends of friends, maybe more than like people I directly knew. Over time, like, I don't know, like it's always been really interesting. Like anytime I've approached someone to say, would you like to design a watch for us? They're really engaged with it because no one ever asked them to design a watch before, because it's kind of an unusual object. It's not, for like graphic designers or illustrators, there are certain like archetypal products they get asked to all the time, probably beer cans at the moment, would be like the Illustrator stock in trade. But a watch, they're like, it's interesting, like it's nice and it's got challenges and parts of it move and stuff. So initial was like friends of friends, and then when that pool started to not run dry, but like we wanted to introduce fresh people, we would get approached by people almost from the start with like, I got an idea for a watch, why don't you make a watch like this? And 99% of them that we receive, even today, they're not terrible designs, but they're designing something that they think fits in with our existing collection, which is kind of like, we've got the existing collection, we don't need something that fits in with that, we need something different that we haven't seen before. One of the first designers though who emailed me, who was like, I want to design a watch, who we had a really successful relationship with, was Honorio De Piero, who did the Number Cruncher watch and later a watch called Robotoshi. But he was really great to work with because out of all of the artists or creative people I've worked with, he's super unegotistical about his design. Like he takes feedback so well, like, and that's really nice as a relationship because we didn't really know him before. And I say we, like collectively, the sort of production side of the business. And he's really good to work with because he will take feedback really well. So some of them come directly to us. So Christophe Devos was another who emailed me. He said, I'm a Belgian illustrator, children's book illustrator and author. I have some ideas for a watch. Do you accept submissions? I said, yeah, fine. I don't know you, but send us your ideas, it's fine. A month later, he sent me this PDF document with like 5 designs, more or less ready to go. Like mostly the submissions are quite rough or, not very well refined or thought out. But this design, the Perfectly Useless Afternoon, he sent to us almost complete, almost ready to go. We made some very minor tweaks to, I think, the lines on the swimming pool, the like proportions of the leg to the center. I just give you as an example of like the other one is like people we approach. So Yo Jose Maeda, who designed the watch that we released last week, she was someone who we'd like actively sought out. Like periodically, we kind of do a trawl through. It tends to be like fine art degree shows, and part of the reason for that is getting people at the start of their career. They're really motivated. And actually, I was with one of the designers we're working with, Anna Diaz, today. She was a graduate from Camberwell School of Fine Art last summer. She's designing a watch for us. Like, it's so nice to see, it's so rewarding to see. She's so excited about it and so, happy to be taken seriously and, have all this kind of effort put into her design. So it's a mix between friends of friends, people approach us directly, people we see.
That's great, thank you. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you once again for having us. It's fantastic to be here. As you can see, everyone is very excited about a lot of these designs. And it's been great. So thank you very much, Crispin.
Cool.